Hi, welcome to Tales from a Blind Guy, the podcast. This is our very first episode. I am your host, Greg the Blind Guy, and today is just going to be an introduction and what this podcast is going to be about, and talk about a little bit of my qualifications or lack thereof to host this podcast. Now, what's this podcast going to be about? Well, I'm a blind person, so it's going to be about living a life blind, but also too, it's going to be living life in recovery. Now, I know two kind of odd combinations, but at the end of September this month, I'm going to be 6 years clean, and I'm a blind guy, so in that an odd combination myself. But today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of my blindness here and what brought me here today. Now, with our podcast, for the most part, we're going to be interviewing guests. We're going to be doing a little bit of cooking too. So, we're going to be having fun on this channel. I'm hoping to do, starting off nice and easy, doing one podcast a month for 10 episodes a season and go from there. And then, as we get a little more comfortable picking up things, maybe increasing our podcast from there. But for most part, the podcasts, they're not going to be scripted. Why? Because I can't read a script. Heck, I'm just in the process of still learning Braille. So no scripts, just off the cuff, questions, interviews, just having a good time with people in recovery, but also people that are blind or visually impaired. So my journey started back in 2017. I was diagnosed with stage 1 T-cell non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And it was kind of in between my right eye and my brain. So I went through the process of chemotherapy and radiation. And so in February of 2018, I successfully went into remission. But unfortunately, about 6 months later, I started losing vision in my right eye. And so it was radiation ocular neuropathy, kind of a rare diagnosis, but happens sometimes when radiation is in the facial area. And so no longer could I enjoy 3D movies, but I continued on with my life. Skip forwarding a couple of years later, in 2020, the cancer came back. I didn't notice until it was stage 4. And at that point, it was looking pretty grim. Survival rate was low because of the stage it was at. But I had a stem cell transplant. I was my own donor. Very interesting process. And then I had radiation afterwards. Now, the doctors were very reluctant at the start to do the radiation. One, because there was a good possibility I would go blind, but to get rid of all the cancer, because the stem cell transplant had done quite well, but they needed the radiation to kind of finish things off. And it did. But I had some issues with my left eye, had some cataract surgery, but afterwards I had bleeds in my eyes. And so I started doing regular injections to help balance out the eye and keep the bleeds at bay. But I was still able to see, still able to drive, still able to work. And as I went along, I had these injections about every month. I'd drive up to a local large city and get them done in Calgary. And over time, my left eye started to strengthen. The bleeds stopped happening. And I started doing the injections about every 2 months. So things were looking well. I always had it in the back of my head that at some point I would probably go blind. But I was hoping I was waiting until I was a much older, maybe a little more in the senior citizen age. But um, unfortunately, with those regular injections, there came a risk. The injections helped stabilize the eye, but always came with a small risk of getting an infection. And unfortunately, on March 15th of 2024, I had an injection and got an infection from it. And a week later, I was blind. And so then I began my new journey of being a blind person and having to learn contacting CNIB. Took me a while to get a cane and trying to live this new life, not only in recovery, but also as a blind person. And it was rough. Mentally, it was a very rough go. to start with. But I had my 12-step program to help me through, but also I had connections not only with my recovery community, but also started making new connections in the blind community. 6 months after going blind, I started in a blind bowling league. And sometimes throughout that year, that first year of bowling, I did better than when I could see. Now, it's all, I would say, good, dumb, blind luck. But, at one point, I got a turkey. So, any of you don't know what that is? That's 3 strikes in a row. Shit, never did that when I could see. But, sometimes have the luck of the blind behind you. And then the last 6 months now, because I've been blind for about a year and a half now, working with the blind community, I started, taking some Braille lessons. So memorization, I found was really easy. Training the finger, uh, takes a little bit more work. But I have a really good teacher and a good friend. She's going to come on in future episodes and talk about her life being blind, because she's been blind her whole life. And so she's been helping me through this. And I'm very thankful for that. So just all those connections that have helped me, kind of adjust to my new life being blind. And then learn about all the technologies. I first kind of, was able open to the world of a blind person when my great uncle, who was blind in World War II, I got to interview him. I got to see his life being blind most of his life. And he'd have a rope that would help walk him down to his garage, and he would do some woodworking. I still have one of his paper towel holders to this day that's up on my fridge. And just amazing, the life that he leads. But nowadays, we have access to so much more technology that's, I know that's helped me adjust all this, including my, from things my Google Home to my WeWalk cane, a lot of apps that I'm starting to learn. The person that's also helped me do in Braille is also helping me try to train me to use my phone through the voiceover options, which I'm very grateful for, because the more I can gain back just a little bit of independence, because I lost so much, and which still pisses me off, and nobody lets me drive anymore. Just no trust. Still got my driver's license. Not going to give that up anytime soon. But nobody will let me drive. Maybe for Christmas, somebody will get me like a nice little go-kart, if I can fit into it, not break it. But who knows? I'll put it on my Christmas list, and we'll see what happens. Also, too, is, we're going to be talking about recovery. Like I said, I've been clean at close to 6 years now. I went out to treatment in New Westminster in British Columbia, and I found a new way of life out of my addiction. And even though being a blind person, you think things are rough, but I'm still living my best life in recovery and even in blind, because what we learn is that no matter what happens, life still continues on. And I'm very grateful for the life that I have and the people that I have around me. So, this has just been a short introduction. Thank you for listening. I hope you stay tuned for more podcasts coming in the future. And please stay tuned. As for any future podcasts, we're going to have a guest, so you don't just need to hear me ramble on. So until next time, take care. Nanu Nanu.